Okie dokie. So today we're going to be assembling a linear bearing for your first CNC machine on Thingiverse, and it looks a little bit like this when complete. It's just basically a block, and you'll be able to see on the far side there are two screws that are used for adjusting the width. On the other side, this is removable and adjustable, and that's what presses up against the rail, linear bearing. And there's also a clamping bar right here that has a screw. And there's actually quite a few components actually inside, so that's why I'm making the video on how to assemble this. First of all, something you want to do is sand some of the faces so they glue together quite nicely. And this I just like doing because I'm OCD, but this is a good practice. The way to do that, so then you get these the edges nice and flat, and it's an important skill for later on when you're working on big pieces of the rail. So what I do is I hold it in a position and I go across the sandpaper. Okay, so now we're going to assemble the bottom half, and you'll see there's these two square holes, and you're going to add two more nuts into it. As you can see, it's kind of a repetitive process. A set of two 20 millimeter length 3Ms. And there's two cavities right here. And so you just insert it through here. Okay, so to prepare the faces of the linear bearing, I like to sand down some of the top where it has a bit of a texture and some artifacts. So I just like to give it a good sanding to make sure that you sand it level. I like to go in one direction, flip it over, and since your fingers have natural pressure points along here, you'll wear one side more than the other. So a good way of getting a nice flat edge is just to flip it and do the exact same motion. Now you're gonna have a nice flat edge. Okie dokes. So the first thing to do is take these nuts. These are 3M nuts and with about a 6 millimeter diameter. And so first, I like to throw it in. So the side with the teeth, which is the top, throw in 2. And here now you're going to add some screws at the top. These are just for ease of mounting and keeping everything in place. So just put them through. And you're gonna just insert it through the top here. It's kind of hard to see the lighting, but so you can just drop it in so the two sides are facing down like this and plop it in. So now that you have, this little square bar with the hole in the center is what's gonna bring pressure up against this plate. So what I like to do is use the hex wrench, kind of help line it up. And then using a 20 millimeter M3, I thread through. Later on, this thing just slides right on, like that. And now that is adjustable. So now that we have this piece all made, and this one with the screws inside, we can glue them together. And I like to use just a really thin glue, and it makes for a good bond. Okie dokes. So you put it on the bottom half. This is the one with the cavity on 3 sides. And put a little bit of glue. And you'll see the thread of the bolts will not line up with 2 holes, and then you just stick it on and try to get it as close as you can. Okey dokes. And You're going to grab another 3M screw. On the top of this, you will see another square hole. You're just going to slide in another one. And using, I believe it's a 16 millimeter, you're going to finish up this clamp right here. So this thing right here goes through here on against the teeth, and it goes through the nut and holds pressure on the belt. And you want to leave about 3 millimeters of gap to play with. That way you can slide the belt in. Then you're going to take this rail, the final edge, and push into place. So now you have the bottom half has bearings that go in here. There's going to be 3 in the middle and 2 on the ends. And you're going to repeat that for all 3 sides. Okay, so now we're going to assemble the rails. The rails, it's very important that you sand these well. Make sure that everything is straight. I like to hold it against a table and push up against these 2 ends right here. And you're going to see if there's any lifting on the sides. And if there is, like, oh, this one's popping up a little bit, when you do that, you want to sand it until it's flat. And so now you're going to use anything from a 12 to a 15 millimeter screw, and you're going to thread that through here. And do the other side. And grab a screw. You want to line up the center rail as guidance. You want to line it up so there's a little bit of play in it, tolerances for different machines. So you want to make it sure it's lined up and then tighten it down. And one way to make sure that it's well aligned, I like to run the hex wrench back and forth until you hear the least amount of clicking. So now we just do it on one side. And then now we're going to do it on the other. And you don't need to, I mean, you don't need to wrench it down because it will, because this is plastic. And you don't want to start crushing the plastic and lose that rigidity. Okie doke, so now we're going to attach the belt. And the way you do that is, I like to put one end into the chuck right here, and the grip. Kind of push it right up against the screw. Wrap around the idler. And then you'll see a little slot that the belt goes through. And wrap around the motor. Then I just push hard on my thumb at the edge. Get it in the teeth with a decent amount of tension. Trying to make sure that it is as straight as you can. And use your hex wrench and tighten the screw right back here. Now you want to adjust the height of this to where it's about straight as you get. So now we're going to tension the belt on the very back. And just give it a good flick, make sure that everything is tight. Okie dokies, that's how you put together a one of the gantry systems. So once you get the belt on, you want to adjust the gear on the motor. And the easiest way is to look at it from the side. And you'll see that it's fairly obvious at this angle that the gear is too low. But when you're looking at straight at it, it can be kind of deceiving. So just loosen up the set screw, pull it up, and then I like to look at it and lower down to where it looks about right. Just grab your hex wrench and tighten the set screw. Then, just a word to the wise, don't over tension this. It could cause some bowing over time, and so the tone that you want to hear from the belt is a fairly low tone. If it's too high, you might have it too tight. Also, when you mount it, if you mount the Y-axis on a board, it will, the clamps will keep it down and tight. So you can over tighten the Y without any consequence.